It's ready. Right back. Okay, boss. Use the body. Save the back.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to go over my recent seminar that I taught in Norway, in Stavanger. So a little bit of a different video this time. I'm just going to have a little bit of a recap. I'm going to show you some footage from the seminar and just kind of go through what happened really. Let you get a little bit of an insight into what happens in one of my seminars. This one in particular was a 3-day seminar, so it's quite a big one. So I covered quite a lot of stuff. As I said, I'll show some footage here and I'll go through what I did. Before I go through that, I just want to announce that I've partnered up with Art Martial Clothing, and they make all kinds of clothing with martial arts inspired designs on it. This one right here I'm wearing is their fundamentals range, so it's quite a basic, subtle logo on the front and on the back as well. I'll put a link in the video description for this one, so if you want to check out some of their stuff, follow that link and get yourself some bits in time for Christmas. So the first day, Friday, I arrived in Stavanger, Norway, and I was picked up at the airport and I had a session that night. So the first session was kind of, I thought I'd use that as a warm-up for the weekend, do some mobility work, just kind of introduce myself to the group really, and to show some different things. It was quite a heavy session in terms of kicking. So I started off, like I said, with some mobility work, then it was a whole session on kicks. This was a session for all grades, so it was like regardless of belt, everyone was there. And it was a really good atmosphere to start the weekend. Quite a few of the things that I teach on or I show on these videos here, I covered in that one session there. So, they found me via YouTube, I think. So I wanted to give them a little something that they'd already seen before, a little bit of what they kind of booked me for. So we spent a whole hour and 15 minutes on mobility and kicking exercises.
I don't want to be here because then my hip is sticking out the back and I've got nothing to push from. If he comes forwards, I'm collapsing with that. I want to have my foot turned around, like I said, deliver and get my body over that foot here. And then I want to do this work. This is the exercise. 1, 2, 3, 4, for 10 please. Kind of pushing through this leg and pushing through that glute. You'll feel the glutes working. Don't show it too soon. Keep it in. Spin. Yeah. Extend. Whip it around again. Yeah. So the next day was the longest of the 3 days. So there was 4 sessions, and they were split between Q grade, which is like below black belt, and black belt. So we had a Q grade session, a black belt session, then a lunch break, and a Q grade session and a black belt session again. In these classes here, I spent quite a bit of time on kata. So I worked with the Q grades on kata Heian Yondan, which is one of the sort of lower grade katas. But I also introduced application to that so that it was kind of beneficial to everyone in the session. I think it's really important to understand why we're making the movements in the katas rather than just simply making shapes. So I always like to give a little bit of, my personal ideas on what I sort of interpret the movements as. There's no real set way, there's no set application as such. If it works, then it works. I get a lot of people in the comments in some of these videos telling me that's not the application or that's not the original application. I don't really care. If it works and it kind of, is inspired by the kata, then for me, that's good enough. As long as it works, then it has a function and it's good for me. We then went to the higher grades and did kata nijushio. So that was a higher grade kata, again with some application, some different ideas. Again, I'll sort of overlay this video with some clips from the course and from the sessions. The atmosphere was really good. The classes were received quite well, I think, and the feedback has been really nice. So after a lunch break, we then came back to the same system again, the Q grades first, followed by the down grades. We was covering some Kumite type stuff in this session, so we was hitting pads quite a bit. Again, it's something I believe quite strongly in, that we must be hitting targets. You know, like if you look at other martial arts, boxing, Muay Thai, kickboxing, there's a lot of emphasis on hitting bags and hitting pads. You know, and karate often neglects this. In my dojo, we do it almost every session. So, and in my own training, I do it a lot. So it's something that I've always believed in. The fastest way to get feedback is to hit something. It gives you immediate feedback. You know, if your wrist is not aligned correctly, or if your sort of line of delivery is wrong, your shoulder's out of place, the body's not lined up correctly, you feel it straight away. So I think it's really important. So I brought that into a session. We did almost an hour straight of hitting pads with various different techniques and combinations.
Yeah. This way, the front leg now. We're trying to generate power from very little space now. Yeah, front leg. Here. Make sure this foot is rotating. Hit. Coming down, everything together at the same time. So everything kind of connects. Yeah. Rather than getting here and kind of just with the only upper body. Yeah. The whole body shifting in. Imagine I'm going to throw it. Whoosh, this kind of idea. Everything's going that way. So I'm kind of coming in. Here, shifting away in. Shift in and go. Shift in. All the body together. All together.
So the final session of Saturday, we focused on Kion. So Kion is the fundamentals of karate, kind of like what people would often refer to as basics, but I don't generally like the term basic because it's not really basic as such. You know, it's the fundamentals of which everything in our karate is built from. You know, you could say that a jab and a cross are basics of boxing, but the whole of boxing is built on those techniques. So the same for karate. We have our fundamental techniques that everything then is built on top of. And with good fundamentals or good basics or good Kion, we could then have good karate. Without good fundamentals, the more flashy kind of spinning hook kicks and all this kind of stuff don't happen, because we need to have those fundamental movements ingrained first of all. You know, correct hip work, correct alignment, turning the supporting foot when you're kicking, this kind of thing. So we spent quite a bit of time on Kion throughout the weekend as well.
Okay. Switch out. Oh, shit. Oh, the face, yeah? Oh, it's a beat. Let it go.
So the last day, we had 3 sessions on the Sunday. We started off with some Kion exercises again for the Q grades, with some kind of application type ideas and some self-defense type movements as well I was bringing into the session. We followed this then with the downgrade class. I wanted to cover a high grade kata, and I couldn't decide between the two of Ansu and Gankaku, so I decided to do both. So it was a very quick touch on both of the katas really. So we had 30 minutes roughly for each. I showed some application and some exercises to kind of develop movement within those katas. Even some of the Q grades joined these classes, so it's really good for them to jump in and give it a go. So for the final session, it was again everyone back together again, and I wanted to finish the whole seminar on a high, so I made it a bit of a high kind of energy session where we was doing quite a lot of Kumite drills and partner drills that were kind of cardio based, really just to finish with a nice atmosphere and just get everyone kind of feeling like they've had a good session, but also have had a good time as well. So there you go, it's a little insight into what kind of happens on a seminar with me. And I hope you've enjoyed it, and hopefully maybe you've learned a couple of things, a few different little ideas that maybe I've mentioned there. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a like and a comment. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done already, and I will see you in the next video.